everyone. My name is Harsha. I am a 15-year-old social entrepreneur, head of marketing and branding, singer-songwriter, musician, writer, website and app developer, model, and I'm also a founding member of the nationwide youth organization called Ascendance. But most importantly, I am a 15-year-old high school student who goes to classes and exams and subjects just like every other teenager out there. And I know what you're thinking. How does a 15-year-old know what's next? And I could talk about that, but I'd rather talk about how you could make what's next into what's now. So my story starts when I was about 11, which sounds like a long time ago and awfully dramatic, but it was just like a few years. And I was probably one of the most boring 11-year-olds you would ever meet. I was incredibly quiet to a point which my family would have thought I was mute. Can you guys hear me, by the way? Okay, thanks. I was ridiculously shy, and I didn't seem to have an opinion about anything at all. And just like every other human being at some point, I was asked questions like, so, what do you want to do in the future? Or, what do you want to be when you grow up? I know, a lot of pressure for an 11-year-old to answer, right? And some people do know exactly what they want to do. Like my sister Hira, she's been adamant about being an international singer since she was a kid. Or all the other children in my class who seemed to know exactly what they wanted. Except for, well, me. I had no idea whatsoever on what I wanted to do, nor did I have any secret talents or hobbies that you would think normal, successful people would have. By every definition of the word, I was painfully average. So here I was, with a different answer to, what do you want to be when you grow up, every other week? One week, I wanted to be a fashion designer. The next, a cashier. One week, I wanted to be a lawyer. The next, a monk in the mountains. And just like every other person who has no idea what they want, I just hoped that maybe someday in the distant future, I'd figure it out. But something changed when I was about 12. No, I didn't get bitten by a radioactive spider or hit by gamma radiation. But one day, I went for a talk show held by a social business incubator platform called ET Ideas. And I was introduced to a whole new environment of people. Here were people who weren't just working relentlessly on their businesses, but were also finding ways to link their careers to solving global issues. People from all kinds of fields, from tourism to web development to chocolates to photography, who all seem to be able to connect their work towards solving world problems. And that's when I realized that I wanted to be a social entrepreneur. And I know what you're thinking, that this is the point of the story where inspiration hits me, where I start my own social enterprise with this amazing idea that I had and help thousands of others. Except for the fact that that didn't happen at all, actually. There was no earth-shattering idea. There was no sudden discovery of a deep-seated talent I had. There was just me. But now, I was among a new environment of people, not just 11-year-olds who went to class and back. And it started with me just following them around. You want to be a fashion designer this week? Sure. Follow the CEO of a fashion company around. See how that goes. And after a while, I started looking at how I could help them in the work that they were doing. It started with one company CEO just saying something like, hey, my company thought of creating a Snapchat account. Do you think you could help manage it for us? And me going, psh, yeah, sure. I'm a teenager. I can manage a Snapchat account. And just like that, something that took less than 5 minutes a day for me to do became the thought that I could contribute towards solving world problems. So I started taking a look at the other things that I do in my daily life, at the other skills that I had. And soon, I was making calls to CEOs, company owners, millionaires, writing emails and proposals for corporates and companies, and working with companies to see how I could help increase their impact. I was setting appointments during my lunch breaks in school and rushing after class to meet clients, sometimes still even in my school uniform if I didn't have time to change. I was learning about things like business, organization, management, marketing, all from the people whose very livelihoods revolved around it. I was building a career for myself. And I even earned a little bit of extra pocket money, which increased the more work that I did. Some people even asked, so, what about your grades? Surely you can't be doing that well in school if you're so busy with everything else. And that's the funny thing. Because the more I learned about the world around me, the more I learned about me and the things that I was learning about in class. So not only did my grades improve dramatically, but now I'm actually one of the top scorers in my school. Yay. And from a shy, disengaged child, I became the kind of person who constantly was talking about ideas, seeing how I could make a difference, and using whatever I could to change people's lives. Which is why it shocked me when the very question I used to run from was asked at me once again. So, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what are you going to do next? And I was like, hello? Because here I was working with top people in companies and in my own way contributing towards solving world problems. Couldn't they understand what I was doing? But that's when I understood something. You don't have to pick a career. You can create your own. 10 years ago, if someone said they wanted to be a YouTuber, you'd get questions like, what's YouTube? Today, they're practically celebrities. Similarly, maybe the reason why so many youngsters can't think of the careers that they want is because the work that we're meant to do hasn't been given a fixed name or label to it yet. Many people worry about the future, saying that most jobs available right now might not be available then. But maybe the reason why a lot of us actually don't know what we want to do is because our jobs haven't been invented yet. So it's up to you and me to create our own careers with the ideas and the problems that we want to solve. So a couple of other youngsters and me, aged 13 to 19 then, started our own social enterprise called Ascendance. Because as much as we were young and we were able to create our own careers and be successful at them, we realized something. The only reason we were able to build our own careers was because we had the right platform that allowed us to try out the things that we wanted to try out. And we had an environment of people around us who weren't just successful, but also looking at ways they could continuously increase the impact they had on the people around them. And not every youngster would be lucky enough to stumble across the right talk show. So we would bring this platform to them. Through a series of workshops, programs, real-life experiences, and the involvement of actual entrepreneurs, We provide a platform for youth all across the country to figure out what it is they like doing and how they can create a sustainable career out of it that contributes towards solving global issues. And this became our cause, our way of contributing towards solving world problems, a global issue that we had the power to change. In other words, we were engaging a disengaged generation. So here we were, 4 youngsters, trying something out. And soon, we were able to give a platform for youngsters like me, who were quiet, shy, not so proactive, antisocial, to now work with top people in companies, with industry experts, to make sure their own ideas could become reality. Like, for example, one of the youngsters we work with is this extremely shy 16-year-old girl. She's an artist, and she barely spoke a few words to us the first few times we met her. She also refused to think anything more of herself than just a sketchbook artist. But today, she not only works with published authors to illustrate their books, but she also has her own team of content creators and young artists who actually provide a platform for youth all across the country to get their work showcased at a global scale. And she's just 16. Can we have a round of applause for her? Just like that, we're working with hundreds of youngsters all across the country. Some who are looking at ways to provide clean energy, others looking at ways to end poverty, but all of them looking at ways that they can create their own sustainable careers and make a difference while doing it. And remember, we started as 4 youngsters who just wanted to share something with our fellow peers. We started off cold calling tuition centers and orphanages, asking if we could work with the youngsters there, and occasionally getting yelled back across the phone line in return. But as the work we did increased and the impact we created grew, our results started to show. Soon, we were invited by institutions everywhere to work with youth across the country. Now, we even work with the Ministry of Education to provide this platform at several schools everywhere. What started off as an idea became a platform much bigger than the 4 of us could have ever imagined. But then again, when you're 4 youngsters starting something out, you think the furthest you can go is as far as one of you can drive. And now we had to look at different problems, like how we were going to keep this platform funded. Remember, 4 kids who still go to class looking for funding. So we decided we want to make this a community project, something that everyone and anyone who wanted to be part of it could be part of it. So we came up with the idea to get anyone and everyone who was interested involved. Today, we work with corporates and companies. They help us fund this project at various places. In exchange, they get to learn more about the youth of today from the youth of today themselves. We also provide platforms for members of the public to work with us in our organizing teams, in our workshops, or even just contributing $1 a month on our Patreon account. Communities, ministries, everyday people, corporates, and youngsters like you and me are all coming together for the shared idea that everyday kids can do so much more than even they think they can. That youngsters like you and me, who can't even answer the question, what do you want to do in the future, have the ability to create their own sustainable careers and solve world problems while still in class. Today, we started off as 4 people. 4 not that intelligent people who wanted to make a difference. But can you imagine if there were more people like that? If 4 people were able to do so much? What about 10? What about 50? What about 100 people looking at how they can contribute towards solving world problems and living lives that they want to live? What about every single one of us in this room? Or 1,000 people? 1,000,000? World problems would crumble at our feet. 11-year-old me couldn't have possibly have known what I wanted to be when I grew up, because I didn't pick a career. I created my own. So now when people ask me, and trust me, they still do, so what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what's your plans for the future? I tell them about the career I already have, the youngsters I'm already working with, and the problems that I'm already solving. And just like that, you have the power to do it too. You have the ability to create big changes from where you are right now. Just because you don't know what you want to do in the future doesn't mean that you can't do anything now. All you have to do is look at the little things in your life and the skills that you have that might not even look like skills, and see how you can make small changes right now. And you can always talk to me if you're stuck. If 4 blur, not that intelligent youngsters can impact thousands of others, bring communities together, and do all of that while making it to class on time, then I think you can too. Because the idea is that if we're going to create the future, if we're going to be setting what's next, we've all got to do it together. That each and every single one of us here today have a role to play in the future that we're making. And all you have to do is see how you can make what's next into what's now. So, in the words of my mentor, Alengo Tiago, I shall finish off with a quote from him. He works with youngsters and adults alike, and he says this: "You, the young, are the future. But that doesn't mean you have to wait until the future. You can do it now, wherever you are, whatever age or circumstances you may be in. So start now." Thank you.